My goodness.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 94 of the Self-Publishing Roundtable, the podcast for indie authors by indie authors, where we discuss today's topics and issues that matter to the business of the self-published author. I am your moderator, Wade Finnegan, and my co-panelists, as always, are Michelle Reed.
Hello.
And Xavier Granville, even though it doesn't say his name underneath him, it's really him.
Hello, Internet.
Our special panelists for this episode are Matt Morris.
Hi there.
And Nancy Elliott.
Hey.
You may have just watched them a little recently on the Author Strong podcast. They are doing some great things over there, so we're going to pimp the heck out of that show tonight, so a little cross-promotion. We brought them on tonight to focus on talking about mentoring in the business of writing. Matt has been doing some of that as of late, and thought it would be a really good topic to cover. So if you guys haven't heard of Matt, where have you been? He's been on the show lots of times, but he's probably most well-known, besides his books, but most well-known for writing ridiculous amounts of words and nano.
To be fair, my books, Wade, sorry to interrupt you, my books aren't known for me because I write them all anonymously, so I don't share them with anybody.
That's true. That's true. So you are known for books that aren't connected to you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, but you're also really known, at least I got to know you originally through the ridiculous word counts that you did in writing, not in a month, in a day. Right?
And Wade, I'm glad you're here because I was on the show before. I forget what episode. Oh, it says episode 76. It's on my screen. Episode 76 I was on. But
yes.
you couldn't make it that day, and I think Robert Chashut kind of jumped in and had some fun with us in your absence. So I'm glad. Thank you for having me back on the show, and I'm glad that you're here to be here.
And where's Robert? Jeez.
Well, he'll be there. Robert will be around somewhere, right? Robert is just, Robert's been making the rounds a lot. But we don't want to leave Nancy out either, right? Nancy has thrown her hat into the ring, if you will, to being a full-time author at some point. I know she's still keeping the day job, and I've been loving listening to her triumphs and tribulations trying to get there. We also have a commonality that, well, she doesn't anymore, but she used to teach, so we that too. So, but yes, so Nancy has joined Matt in the Author Strong podcast, and it's awesome. So you guys should check that out. So I'll let them go ahead and talk a little bit about themselves here in a minute. Just reminding everybody, if you get a chance to, please leave us a review on iTunes. Give us a thumbs up on the YouTube. It might be on multiple channels tonight, who knows? But, anyway, please share us around the internet and help us to keep the show viable. We appreciate you guys' support. I think I covered it all.
5-star rating, right? A 5-star rating and a review on iTunes.
Yes.
Yes, that's there you go, Matt. That's a good. So I wanted to start off with Nancy. Not that I don't like Matt. I've heard a lot about Matt already. I want to hear a little more about Nancy. So, Nancy, give us a little bit about your journey and how you got to this point on this, illustrious podcast that you're on.
Okay. I imagine it's like most of you guys that are authors or writers, that sort of thing. I've been writing for a long time. I've always wanted to be a published author. That was always like the thing that I would scratch into the little "what do you want to be" box on any sort of questionnaire. I wasn't really sure how to get there. I just thought at some point I would be an adult and then I would just magically figure it out. That does not happen. Newsflash. I've written a fair bit of fanfic over the years. I'm always a big proponent of fanfic being good for honing certain parts of your craft before, kind of striking out on your own. Recently, I would say in the past year or so, I just realized I was getting too close to 30, and that scared me, and I realized that I hadn't done nothing with my life, or felt that way anyway. So I decided I needed to at least try to make the dream goal, so at least if I failed, I didn't want to think too much about what would happen if I failed because I'd probably be devastated. But I was thinking at least, that's what everyone tells you. Well, at least you tried. That's a good consolation prize.
Right.
So thanks, my dream is dead, but I'll recover. Okay. So Matt and I actually met at the local Houston group, we happened to meet each other for NaNoWriMo last November. I was kind of asking around some of my friends, and I was telling them, I was like, man, things are really bad at work. Pretty desperate to start like actually writing professionally, and universally, 2 or 3 of them were like, oh, you need to talk to Matt. I'm like, oh, who's Matt? And then that worked out. That worked out really well for me, Matt, so thanks.
Was he like sitting creepily in the corner like the Godfather?
No, you know
he knows
Matt.
all the things.
He was the center of attention.
He was
Talking
like,
to everybody.
Have a beer.
He just heard someone say, "I need help," and he was just there saying, "I know."
That's very true, though. He was really forthcoming. I approached him, and the desperation of wanting to escape my job led me to be more forward than I probably would be on a daily basis. And I was like, I need to be doing what you're doing. Like, everyone says to talk to you. Please tell me what you're doing now.
And you never came across as desperate or anything like that, but I definitely think that, like...
Well, good. I hit that really well. That's great,
yeah,
because...
And one of the big things that so many people miss out on is that so many people are willing to help if anyone asks, right? And I'm one of those people. I love talking whenever I go to these write-ins or go to the communities. I love talking about what I do because it's literally been life-changing to be able to say that I'm a full-time writer. And if I can help someone else do that, that's great. Most people seem interested, but they don't actually like follow through on anything, right? And so Nancy was one of those cases where we just hit it off right away, and we just started talking, and she wanted to hear what I had to say, and I like talking in general, so I keep talking. And
you don't like no way, Matt. You don't like talking.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a natural fit. Like she said, we met at a write-in, and it was at a bar, and it was like a few days after I did the 50,000 for the first time last November, because I did it multiple. And then we just hit it off, and we continued, and then into December, we started a little bit of like kind of a mentoring relationship then. And in the back of my mind, I always had the Author Strong podcast, or not necessarily the podcast, but the show in mind, and we had recorded those episodes, and something just happened in 2015 where I said, you know what, I want to do the show, but there's no way I can do it by myself. And when I thought of having a co-host on the show, Nancy came to mind. She was the only one I ever wanted to do it with. So I asked her. She said yes, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. Nice. Well, that's awesome. That's a great little story, and it is interesting how, and I think you guys have touched on this on your podcast, how much intertwining. Of all these writers have come. I was just noticing on the site. I think it was Elaine or somebody said that Susan Butler was a mentor to her, and we've had her on the show. And it's just funny how these connections happen, and where we're like all one big happy group spread out all over the planet. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and I've known, for example, like I've known Mimi Strong for a number of years now, and she and I have never had like a formal relationship like that, but I've always looked up to her, and she's the kind of person, Michelle, I know you talk with her a lot as well. She's the kind of person, and you find so many of these people, and you don't realize it until you approach them, but they're more than willing to help if you ask. And Mimi is one of them as well, where it's like it doesn't matter how busy they are. If you ask them and you're honest and you're forthright, and it's obvious that you're not just kind of looking for like something quick and kind of gamey or whatever, that you're honestly trying to improve whatever it is you're working on. There are so many people out there that will legitimately help you and be happy to help you. And so she and I have never had a formal kind of relationship like that, but I've definitely always looked up to her in if I've ever had a question about anything, Mimi's the first one I would go to. How's this cover look? How's this book description? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And we get into those dialogues back and forth, and that's definitely neat. I'm glad that I'm able to, pass that on to anybody. And, so it's just something that I think people need to take more advantage of, and they don't realize they can't.
And it doesn't even have to be in your genre. I've asked Darren loads of times, just random stuff, and he will just answer it completely, and then and Nick Smith is great about that.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be an author. Like, it's surprising, coming from a business background, it's surprising the number of crossovers and that you're going to find just in life, right? And it doesn't have to be with writing, it doesn't have to be with business in general, but there's going to be a lot of crossovers in life. And if you see someone who's doing something the way you want to be doing it, even if it's not writing, someone who's successful at anything, there's going to be things that you can kind of learn from them and take away. And it's going to be important that you talk to them. And if you have a question, ask. That's all.
Yeah, it's about networking, right? It's just putting yourself out there, I guess. But a lot of writers are introverts, and so I think part of that's the issue, right? That they have a hard time. And I know, Michelle Reed, I'm not looking at you, but at first it was like, I have a hard time.
Now.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that because I'm totally opposite. So it's hard for me to relate. But more and more writers I meet, they do tend to be introverted, and so that makes it a difficulty. I had a question. We'll start off with Nancy, I guess, from her side, but we'll get both of your sides. In the relationship, and I don't know if that sounds weird. Sometimes in relationship, I don't know how formal it is, but in the relationship, is it a situation where you're bouncing stuff off of Matt all the time, or is it just when like I come up to a roadblock, and then when Matt's turn, the idea of how much advice do you give unsolicited, that sort of thing. So how does that dynamic kind of work? But I'll start off with Nancy on that.
Yeah, I just kind of reviewing the past several times that Matt and I've had conversations about my writing. It usually is of the roadblock type, where will tell him that something I'm struggling with, or it's not working, or I really like my idea, but why is it so hard to write? Like just those kind of things, trying to get some feedback or a different perspective. I haven't really shared with him anything that I've written, but he hasn't shared with me either, so I feel like I don't have to do that until I think he writes. But he's sometimes I think there's a lot of advice, but I appreciate that there's a lot of it, because the opposite is not enough. So when there's a lot for me to sift through, especially since he gives me several different approaches maybe to whatever problem it is that I've brought to him, he's really good at being a cheerleader, which I think for me is what I really need. It feels really sad to say that, but it's true. And if that's you and you need that person to give you like gentle accountability and to encourage you, like that's not stupid. I mean, if that's what you need, then that's what you need. And it's nice for him to, like, I was telling earlier today, I was telling Simon about we were
Simon
right
Whistler.
when Simon Whistler, yeah, from the Rocking Self-Publishing. I was telling him about how I am not a morning person. I sort of am now, but I wasn't before. And Matt gets up at like 5 or something, and he was pushing me to come meet him every day at like a local coffee house to sort of start making like a plan for doing my writing every morning. And it was terrible, and I hated those cheerful text messages because I just don't trust cheerfulness when there's too much of it. Yeah, I'm very suspicious of very
we could
cheerful
never
people.
be friends then.
No, I know that y'all exist, and the world deeply needs you. But it's just the initial like cheerfulness of your texts really made me mad. But also I needed them. And after I started meeting you there a few times, I really realized like the value that the early morning could give me. And I really wasn't as productive as I thought I was in the evening. And he gave me that advice to really evaluate, like, where am I most effective? Where do I get most of my writing done? It's not at night like I thought it was. It's really in the morning when I'm well rested and before I have to go to work. So.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to answer a little bit, I think that I have to hold back and try not to give unsolicited advice, which I think, Wade, I think you mentioned that. I can definitely tend to just kind of overwhelm. And so it'll be, I think what I'm most excited about in watching kind of Nancy's progression is right now she's still at like the tip of the beginning, right? She's still working on getting those early, I mean, you're still working on getting those early, works finished in the first place. And then there's so much that's going to go on after that. Once you get like the first draft done, you go into editing, and then you're going to go into finding an audience, and you're going to go into publishing it. You're going to so many things that are going to come, and you're just at that beginning. And I really do look forward to that time where we do start to kind of bounce stuff off of each other, and things maybe start to settle in and make sense of because you can't really see all of it until you have been kind of through that process once, and then you see why I'm saying to do things the way you do them. and things like that. So
Yeah.
it,
Well, I
it'll be
trust you. It's not that I don't trust you. I do trust you. You obviously know what you're talking about, and I recognize in you the behaviors that I do not have that I want. So that I think is key in probably picking somebody if you want a mentor. At least for me, I'm attracted to opposites. My husband and I are definitely a study in opposites, but it works really well because I'm pretty extreme in my personality traits, and Matt is the like opposite of me in that respect. So I think that works really well for us.
Point. Excellent. All right, Xavier, I'll throw it to you for a question, sir.
Bring it
Oh,
on.
gee. Well, I guess you two kind of came together with the idea of doing this podcast. Where do you see it going from here? I know you guys had your own your first live show tonight, and people can go back and listen in on that or check that out.
That live
But
show
yeah.
drove me drinking. There it is. Cheers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, it drove me in the middle of the show. So, cheers to that.
Well, that's what the great thing about doing live shows. At least then there's that option of being able to just drink live.
That's true. Sitting in an empty house by myself drinking.
But where you see this podcast taking off? Like you guys are doing a daily show. How are you going to be able to keep on track, keep on topic, and deliver the daily goods? I guess.
That's a good question. Nancy, you have any thoughts on that? I could probably go on for a long time about that.
Yes, you could.
There's no doubt about that.
How about we just?
This is my brain of the things I think about.
Oh, you need a separate chair for that noggin. Yeah. Well, why don't you answer? I think if you forget even one thing, I can clean up afterwards. But
all right, let's
go
do
ahead.
that. Where do I see
Yeah.
it? Right. There's a lot of things I want to accomplish, and so we didn't really set the groundwork of what the show is. So it's the Author Strong podcast, obviously. One of the big things that sets it apart from a lot of the writing podcasts that are out there right now is the fact that it's a daily show. Okay. Another thing that sets it apart is that I won't get into that, but one of the things I do like that we talk about that are not, it's not found very often, is we cover a wide range of topics. I can't speak. I blame the wine. Including, we like to talk about craft. Like we got a lot more craft episodes coming up, and so there's not a lot of podcasts to talk about craft, unfortunately. But we talk about everything. We talk about craft. We talk about mindset. We talk about everything from the very beginning, the first things you should do and get started, all the way up to some more advanced stuff, which we will be getting into in the future. And so, how do we keep on task? That's there's so much to talk about, Xavier, that it can be a little overwhelming of like, oh, we got to talk about this and we got to talk about that, and it's one of those things where like, I start thinking about it and I'm like, I got like 50 show ideas like already. We just got to start recording them, right? And so there's, when you really drill down into it, and especially since we do shorter episodes, well, we try to do shorter episodes.
Try. Yeah.
Yours truly talks too much and they go long, and so there's really just a lot of topics to be discussed, and from all sorts of different things. And so where do I see it going? I want it to be the one-stop shop. I want people to come to Author Strong. I want writers to come to Author Strong to say, this is what I want to do. I want to write full-time. I want to live my dreams. How do I do it? And I want to give them the roadmap. I want to say, look, here it is. And the only thing now stopping you from living your own dreams is yourself. The only thing that's going to stop you from being successful is yourself. So
Matt Morris is a cat poster.
I am a cat poster.
I am a goddamn cat poster.
I would be the worst grumpy cat poster ever, because I am very positive and I can be a cheerleader, and I honestly think that most of the time the only thing stopping people from doing what they want to do is themselves. And I want to eliminate all of those things that are letting people get in their own way. And I want to pave the way for them and say, look, there's the road. Now start walking, and you're going to get there.
Okay, I'm going to follow up on that. Andrew had a question from site, and you've answered this somewhat on your podcast already, but for our listeners and such. So, and maybe Nancy can also talk about this a little more, because she's definitely in a different spot than you are. So Andrew says, how do you do all this when life won't release you? You know, like, and the idea of the day job, and for some of us on here, kid commitments and spouse commitments, and other family things and stuff. And I know Matt's talked about you find time because that's what it is. But I kind of want to get Nancy's perspective on that. How are you balancing this with all those other commitments that you have?
I think I'm balancing it as well as I can right now. I mean, of course, I wish that I could make more time for it, but right now, I mostly get about a 2 to 3 hour window in the morning, and that's my writing time. It kind of got messed up. I added in working out in the morning, so I've been slowly getting back to like taking back that time for writing. It really just, I know it's not very helpful to just say you have to make it a priority, but I think that kind of looks different to everyone. For me, that I definitely had to give stuff up. I had to free up my time because I didn't have any of it left to give to writing. So I had to put some things on the back burner. I love video games a lot. That's something that my husband and I share, that we love to do together. But I had to be really serious, and I told him, like, I don't know how long it's going to take me. I hope I come back because I love games, but I can't play any. I know how I am. I can't just play in moderation. Like, I get obsessive. So I can't have any at all. So that was actually really hard. It sounds silly to say, but I had to, every time I wanted to go sit down and play a game, I sat down to write instead. And it was difficult for the first few weeks. Now I don't miss them as much. But I just had to slot things out of my schedule and put writing in its place and actually stick with it. And I was not very happy about it a lot of times.
I actually have that problem with the video games too. It's just 0.
Yes.
Or it will be too many.
Right. It's all or nothing. It's like, oh, Nancy, what did you do when Skyrim came out? I barely ate. Like, I'm sure I didn't shower. I probably wore the same clothes for a week. Like, all those things don't matter, which is why I can never play WoW, because I think I will get a divorce and then I will slowly just fall into squalor. Like, I can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, see. Yeah, I know.
The
WoW,
original.
it's dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, the original Warcraft was mine.
It's also really hard because I think video games are a great medium for storytelling. They haven't always been, but recently, and there's a lot of games where I've been really inspired to write something from a game that I played. So I do sort of feel like a creativity source has been cut off, but at this point it's about getting the discipline down, which I don't have. And I have to be disciplined about when I do the writing. And I also actually want to see my husband when he comes home. So I'm not going to be doing any writing past about 5 o'clock. So it has to be in the morning. So that's right now how I'm making time for it. It would be great if I could quit my job, but the reality is I can't do that yet because I need the income. So.
What time does work start for you, your day job?
So I'm lucky in that my work starts at 10.
Okay. Yeah, that helps too. Well, one of the big obstacles I'm having is I don't have much morning time because I got to be out of the house so early. And then I do have time to write in the evening. But my day job seems to zap my brain power, and it's really hard for me to write in the evening. Now, I know you can train yourself, but I mean, I think that's a good thing that you can get up early and get that couple hours in when you're fresh. So.
Yeah, when I was because you're a teacher, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. When I was a teacher, I usually spent, because I would stay after school every day until like 5 or 6 anyway, and that's when I would do my grading and stuff. So I would usually spend my my conference period writing if I could, if they weren't trying to pull me for some stupid duty or whatever.
A meeting,
a meeting, like the multitude of meetings, yeah.
Yes.
I would try to fit it in there. Standardized testing was great because even though I lost a week of instructional time, right, you can just stand there and watch, and you're not allowed to do anything, right? You have to literally just watch the children, which is great because you can just have some spare paper and a pen. I mean, you're going to have to handwrite it, but you could still get some writing done. Man, when Nano was going on in like it was 2010, I got like 10,000 words in a day because all I did was stand at my podium and pretend to watch them.
Wow. Was that in Texas? Were you there at that time?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I think you guys are known for your standardized tests down there, but.
Oh, I'm not a fan. How long do you have?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Total different segue there. So Matt, I'll let you answer. How about talk a little bit about your discipline and how you approach it since you're full time?
Hmm.
Um, so there's one really big key point that I want to point out. And you mentioned earlier, you said, I know that we talk about on our show. And then what you said after that was something that I am actually very, very opposed against, and you won't hear on our show. And it's a subtle difference. And so your question was, how do you find time to do things? And Nancy's probably heard this a million times from me.
You didn't see the eye roll. I rolled my eyes already for
Oh, I
you.
saw. At this point, I can feel your eye rolls. Like, they just wash over me. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh
What,
no, we've been spending too much time together. If that's
yeah,
happening.
what I'm about to say, Nancy's going to roll her eyes at me. But that's
Uh-huh.
okay. I say it anyways. And here's the key thing. At no part in your day are you ever just staring at a wall, right? You're filling your day with stuff, period, all day, 24 hours, right? There's never a part where you're just doing nothing. You're either watching TV, you're sleeping, you're going to work, you're taking care of the kids, whatever the case is. Here's the key. If you want to do something, you need to prioritize it. And if you want to be a writer, you need to write. No other activity that you're going to do during your day, none of them are going to make you a writer other than actually writing. Now you're going to have other priorities. You're going to want to, again, spend time with your family, spend time with the kids, you got to go to the day job, etc. But you need to figure out those leisurely activities, that Netflix watching, that going to see a movie on release night, that playing a video game the moment it comes out, all of those things. Do you want to do those more than you want to do something else? And if you're spending your time on those while saying you want to be a writer, I would actually challenge you to say that you don't actually want to be a writer enough. And now there's always a balance. But if you want to get to the point where you are a full-time writer and that's something that you're going to achieve, you need to treat it like a priority. You need to do it. And so I will never say that you should find the time to do anything. You need to make the time. If you want to be a writer, make the time. Find the time to do it and do it. There's nothing stopping you but yourself. When you talk about the job not letting you go, when you talk about all these other commitments, yeah, some things won't let you go. Your family, they're always going to be there, and you need to be there for them. Now, the job, on the other hand, maybe not. Can you figure out an alternative? You might be able to. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about soon on ours is, and something that I haven't gotten into, but I think it's really key, and it's timely for Nancy right now, and so it's going to come up on our show soon. I graduated with 2 degrees in accounting. I've got a bachelor's and a master's degree in accounting. I worked for a Big Four accounting firm. I worked for another private company in accounting for years after college. I left all of those and went to work at Starbucks. And that's not something I talk about a lot. But the more I kind of get into this, I think that's important. I went to work part-time at a Starbucks so that I could make time to write, right? So that I wouldn't be working those 70-hour weeks, so that I would have a mindless job where I could spend time thinking in my head about whatever and then go home and treat writing as the priority that I put it in my life. And so you're going to have to make sacrifices. That was a huge to go
That's
from
a
making
huge sacrifice, though, man.
Yes. To go from making a huge guaranteed salary to making barely above minimum wage.
Poverty level.
Yes. That is a big sacrifice that I made to get to where I'm at now, and I don't talk about that a lot because I'm a very positive person. I keep everything in a positive light. But whenever people talk about, like, I just don't have time to do this, it's like, you're not making time to do it. Don't put that on anyone else. That's on you, and I want to make sure people realize that.
I think it's also the fear, though. I mean, there's a lot of... It is really scary to pursue something like that, and it's hard to tell people who actually care, because telling someone that you're a writer is like telling them that you're a carny or a juggler. Like, everyone thinks that's
really
silly.
Is.
It is. Like, everyone thinks that's very silly, or that you're not going to make it. Like, I feel like there's a lot of negativity, which is why unless we're friends, I'm probably not going to talk to you about my job or my aspirations or whatever. But that's hard. Matt, like I realize that what you're saying sounds silly, but I am considering the exact same thing. I mean, at this point, I just want another job with more flexibility that does not include my family, that is paycheck matching, more or less, because
Right.
that would really
Yeah,
afford me the opportunity to, yeah.
that latter point you make there is huge for me. I mean, I don't know what Matt's situation was, and we don't have to necessarily dig into all Matt's personal life. I'm not meaning that, but if I told my wife, by the way, my paycheck's going to get slashed in half starting next month while I pursue this, I'm pretty sure things would roll, and John Reed will make a comment that will fit that. So you know, it is. I mean, and don't get me wrong, Matt. I listen to your guys' show because it's inspiring, and I love where you're going, and you know, same reason why Nancy has you for a mentor. But you know, when you have a mortgage and you have a family that's counting on you, and those sort of things, to me, I don't know, maybe it's part of me. To me, that would also be ultra selfish on my part to tell my son, okay, you're not playing hockey anymore, son, because I'm not going to be able to afford to pay for it. And by the way, we're going to have to move out of here and rent an apartment. I don't know. That to me, I don't know. That seems like a huge.
I'm with you. It's a sacrifice, and there are some sacrifices you will be able to make, and there's some sacrifices you won't be able to make. All I'm saying is that it's a priority, right? So, Wade, if I were mentoring you, what do you want to do? You want to be a writer?
Yeah.
I would tell you to leave this show. Right?
Ooh.
Oh, snap.
Listen.
Shit just got real.
On the show, and you don't want to be a podcaster, you want to be a writer.
Yeah.
If you
Even though you're good at being a podcaster.
Life. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter what you're good at.
Right.
It matters what you want to do. No one's going to live your dreams for you. Live them for yourself. You've got 24 hours a day. I've got 24 hours a day. We've all got the same amount of time. We've all got commitments. We've all got bills. We've all got these things.
Mm.
Choose to live deliberately. That's a message that comes up frequently on our podcast. Live deliberately. Do the things that you want to be doing with your time. And if you can't be doing those exactly now, then figure out how you can.
Right, but I think that's sort of the point, right? Like, you gave me the insight, or you told me something that made me look at my situation differently and decide that I could actually make the time to. I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I think a lot of people want to do that desperately, but they just don't know, like, where is that person to tell them, like, the one thing that turns it all around. I mean, I'm just lucky that I met you. It was through no, like, skill of my own. My goodness, I can barely walk anywhere without falling over. Like, I'm just lucky that I met you. I'm lucky. I'm glad that I was at the right place at the right time to, you know, see it differently. So I mean, yeah, make time, but sometimes you have to have that, like, head change first. You have to have a perspective to.
You gotta get, like, jarred up and kind of take a step back from your own life and say,
Yeah.
What I'm doing, what I want to be doing. Honestly. And there are things.
That's the way Matt was for me too. You were like, so it's cool if you don't want to write. That's cool. And I was like, no, wait, I do. Wait, come back.
wait, no. Yeah.
And so, Wade, I know in your situation, yeah, you've got the obligations, you've got the mortgage, you've got the kids. That's understandable. You may not be able to leave your job, right?
Yeah.
So what else can you do?
It's almost like, what else can you cut? What can you cut?
Yeah. We talked with Mimi Strong, and that was the one thing kind of she said to us of I don't, you know, she slots things. Do I want to do this? Okay, if I do this, I know that I can't do something else. We've literally got 24 hours a day. And to do one thing means you're not doing something else. Do this podcast means that all of us right now are not writing. Right?
That's true. That's true.
I'm writing. That's why my camera's off.
Yeah.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
Somebody else on the show comments is playing Skyrim right now. I was like, that's a win.
I felt a stab of jealousy.
I know.
I had to have that realization with video games myself. I never played a lot, but I would be, you know, I would get sucked into a video game for a while, and then I'd have to give it up. And that continued on after I was writing full-time even. And it was just one of those things where it's like I had to sit back and be like, look, I don't want to play video games for the rest of my life. It's not fulfilling. It's fun. It kills a lot of time.
Right. And
But
you
it's
can
not.
afford it. Like, once you get going, you can afford to do more things, but then you still have to come back and do the thing.
Right.
Yeah, and I just get more out of what I'm doing now, out of talking with people like Nancy, out of doing the podcast, out of doing my writing. I'm starting to fill my own life with things that make me feel good.
Mm.
And and it's hard to stop. Like, people talk to me about being a workaholic, but I don't view any of it as work. I view it as I get to wake up every day and I get to live my dreams every day. And
I've never heard you say, like, I'm gonna go write or I gotta go to work.
Yeah. No.
I'll say it sometimes ironically, but no, I don't complain about the things I do. I make the choice to do that. I don't have to.
That's a good
That's
point.
true.
I don't think I've ever. You're like super positive. That's why we got along so well at first. Well, I mean,
not,
like,
not anymore, Matt.
no, I mean, like, hit it off right away. Whatever.
Matt, okay, Michelle, actually. Michelle, site questions. I don't want to neglect our listeners tonight. Do we have any site questions?
Yes. I don't know if it's TP, or I'm just going to say that. It says, do you ever bounce back and forth between stories as you're trying to finish a first draft, or do you just stay on one?
Was that for me?
It's for both of you. So you go first, Matt, and then we'll ask Nancy.
Okay, cool. Yes, I bounce back and forth, and I try not to. So what I'll do is I'll be working on a project, but there are some days that, and it's easier now that I'm a little bit more established, and I kind of know what goes into finishing a product, and that's one of the things it's a muscle that you work on. And so I will sometimes allow myself an afternoon or an hour or even a day of saying, like, I've got this other kind of burning need to I've got an itch, it needs to be scratched. And I'll allow myself that time to work on it. And usually it goes away pretty quickly. So it's like you got this like passion to work on, like this little side passion project. And for me anyways, I work on it and then I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to go back to the other thing. And that usually doesn't take too long. But that said, in an ideal world, in my everyday, I'm working on one project to completion, start to finish, finish it, and I'm working on a series to completion without venturing off. And I may have ideas. I've got my Scrivener file with like everything in it, and I'll put them in there, and I'll slot them, and I'll organize them so that they're there. If they're cool, I can come back to them, and etc. But what I strive for is one thing, start to finish, initial idea to publication, and then move on to the next thing and rinse and repeat.
All right. I think a lot of my problems with being able to finish something come from the fact that it's hard for me to shut the ideas up while I'm working on one thing. I'm constantly like thinking about what else I could shoehorn into the current idea that I have, which is not bad when I'm brainstorming, but it's bad at every other stage of the writing process. So,
Agreed.
I do like to bounce around. I'm kind of like that with my hobbies. Like, I'll be reading 2 books at the same time and doing something else. But I've really tried to focus on only the one thing and focus on it until it's finished. Because I do think sometimes my tone changes. Like, I can't quite get back into the groove of whatever it was I was really into like a couple weeks ago when I was writing it. It just doesn't sound the same. So.
You bring up a really, really cool point. Because
Okay.
so, like, I answered the question like at a macro level, but you went kind of micro with it, which I really, really like. So, I say I only work on one
Are you
project.
passionate about it?
So passionate.
Sorry.
So one of the things Nancy just brought up was like,
Yeah.
with a story, like she likes to bring in all these different elements, and she and I have kind of talked about that, and I've struggled with that in the past as well. And so that is really key, because that's kind of the same thing of like bouncing around, even though it's within the same story, and you can justify it as like, well, I'm still working on the same novel. But when you're bringing all these different things, like that's kind of still fulfilling these multiple needs at one time. And so what I would say is if you're struggling, especially to get that novel written, just keep it simple. Like, laser focus it on your plot, laser focus it on whatever it is you're working on right now, and try not to introduce new elements to it. Just get it done to the end, especially if you have never finished something before. If you've never finished something before, your number one goal should be to write something simple, straightforward, finish it, and then move.
I've finished lots of stuff, but none of that was like professional work. I mean, to me, I think that's the other problem too. I have put like these expectations on it that I try not to, but when I sit down to work on it, it does feel like, okay, this is a thing that I would actually share with someone, and someone might read it in some form later on down the line. Don't fuck it up. Have a good time writing. It's just like, okay.
No
And all,
pressure whatsoever, but
Right, no pressure. It's fine. Hey, you're going to spend a lot of time working on this, and everyone will hate it. Yay! Like, yeah. I mean,
that is, and that is. I laugh because it's so true. It is so, and I think the best writers know how to shut that off better than others. It seems like, at least I don't know. Maybe Matt can talk to this a little bit, but it seems like the ones that are most prolific have less of that filter, maybe, or are wired a little differently.
man, it's hard. It's hard.
Mm.
It's an active thing. You have to actively work at it, and it's just one of those things that I've built up over the last few years, and that's why I'm able to notice it and realize it, and kind of be in tune with it. And if you guys have listened to our podcast, you know that I'm a very, very avid journaler, right? I journal every day, and I'm constantly kind of in my head of identifying things that are distracting me or things that are pulling and tugging and warring with whatever it is that I'm trying to do. And so it's just one of those muscles that I've kind of built up, and that's why I could see it whenever Nancy and I talk about her writing in the limited sense. Even I can see that coming up, and I see the struggle she's having, even if she doesn't realize it. And if she doesn't realize what it is, I can see a little bit of what that is and say, look, no, don't do that. Like, keep it simple. Like, don't try and include all those elements. That's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to just finish this short story. That's it.
Right.
Don't overcomplicate it. You can tell a really good story without overcomplicating it. And that's one of the things I want to emphasize to newer writers, which is what our show is targeted at as well, is that when you haven't finished a story yet, when you haven't, even published something yet, don't overcomplicate it. You can tell an incredible, simple story. And so you don't need to be writing something super, super complex. You're the first time out the gate. You don't need to. Make sure you can get.
Sorry to cut you off, but
no, go ahead. I'll keep talking.
I was going to ask you if you think writing under pen names helped you overcome some of this stuff as well.
Totally.
Okay. How'd you make that decision?
The decision to write under pen names?
Yeah.
Let me take a drink. Do you want the truth?
Well, of course. This is Spurt.
I got
unvarnished truth.
That's right.
Yeah. I haven't shared this too much, but no one's going to listen to it anyways. Not your listeners will listen to it. People that know me won't listen to it.
I'll make sure I send it to him, Matt. But anyway, go ahead.
So honestly, one of the things that it was there were multiple reasons that I started writing under pen names. One of them was to learn how to write. Like I have a master's degree in accounting. It's business, so I've done a lot of kind of technical writing, but I never done any creative writing when I decided to leave my job and become a writer. And so part of it was just learning craft. I spent 2012 learning craft. And then, honestly, one of the big things that drove me to write anonymously was I published something on February 29th, Leap Day, 2012. It was a short story. And I published a short story, and I shared it on Facebook, and I shared it with friends, shared it with family, and did all the normal things that I see so many new writers do. And then what I found, and this comes just a little bit from my kind of journaling and being very just in touch with the way I'm feeling about things, I expected too much of these people, right? I expected my friends and family who were like, "Oh, congratulations, that's awesome." I expected them to like buy it, to read it, to not necessarily like it, but to support me in the sense that they're going to take the time to like look at this thing that I've done because I'm important in their life and they're important in mine. And it really, when that didn't follow through, when I had those friends who were like, "Oh, I totally just bought it and I'm going to leave you a review," and I can see the sales real time and I can see it not actually occurring, it's very disheartening. And it put me in a mental state, and I was never like angry with them, but it put me in a mental state that wasn't healthy. It put me in a mental state of feeling let down. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to start writing under pen names. I want to get better. I want to hone my craft. I want to become a better publisher. I want to become a better writer. And you know what? I'm not going to give anyone the opportunity to let me down. So I'm just not going to share it with anybody. And I've stuck to that for years now. I'm just not going to share it with anybody. There are a few people who know what I write, but it
like,
is.
Do your parents know? Like, no.
It's
wow.
No. Like 4 people that I can think of, and and that's it. And it's not some like if people were like if they found out, it's not that would be fine. But it was just one of those things where it's like I made the decision like if I'm going to tell anybody, I have to start drawing a line and I have to start kind of prioritizing and ranking people like who would I tell and who won't I tell. And that was when I just made the decision I'm just not going to tell anybody. And
so when they ask you, okay, so you're a writer, so where can I find your book? What do you tell them? Sorry. I'm just curious how that conversation goes.
You can find it on Amazon. You just won't know that I wrote it.
Yeah, that'd be good at cocktail party conversation. Yeah.
He thought it wasn't apologetic about it when I first met him. He was like,
why would I mean, I have no reason to apologize.
No, you really don't.
And it's a personal decision. And I don't have like the ego where I need people to be like validating my decisions or whatever.
Right.
Because I don't care. I live my own life. I don't live it for other people. I live it for me. And so that was a huge reason that I started writing anonymously. And then that was the reason I started. Now the reason I continue, and I know this is something that Nancy's kind of starting to see a little bit of, and you guys, the host of the show, you might see a little bit of it, because you get to this point where your personal lives and your professional lives as podcasters, as writers, they just begin to like do this where they like crisscross. And I know the people listening can't see that, but they just intertwine and they mesh. And I personally don't like that. I like to be very separate. I like to have my friends. I like to have them just disconnected from what I'm doing. I like to be like, I had a bad day at work and it sucked, and let's go have a drink. And I like to be able to get that off my chest and do it. I don't want to have that professional face on all the time. I don't want to have to say, oh, I'm Matt Morris, the writer, not, Matt Oschlager, the human. And so that was that's the reason I continue to do it the way that I've done it.
Did you say Matt Oschlager, the human?
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, so I guess the writers are not human beings.
No, I guess not.
Cyborgs.
As opposed to what?
You are a human, but when you put yourself out there, you do subject yourself to something more than a normal person would. And that's fine.
That's true.
I don't want to take that home with me. Right?
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have time tonight, but I'm going to put a little pin in this one to remember. So I'm going to talk to you some other time about how you build platform when you're completely anonymous all the time, too.
But you're still around.
But you're still around.
We all know you. Yeah.
But I have no idea what you've ever written, and I've never seen your website of books you've written. Right? You're the first podcaster I know that has a about page with no links to an Amazon. So we'll have to. But we're going to run out of time tonight. But we got to hit on that at some point. So
anytime.
That's just a little side note.
Another episode talking about that if you want. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Xavier or Michelle, we've kind of left you out of questioning tonight. So, do you guys got anything you want to ask?
I'm looking on the site. Xavier, do you have anything?
Xavier, you're muted.
Oh wait. Okay, I'm going to interrupt him. LR
Okay.
Dennis says, "Yeah, you can just hold on."
I was agreeing with you. I said,
okay.
continue.
He says, no, I can't see it. Hold on.
Oh, now you stutter, huh?
Okay, expecting support from loved ones is a sure way to get yourself permanently bummed. That is true. I found the same thing.
Yes.
Even people in my house don't read my stuff. That's also true for me. My mom doesn't read it. John doesn't read it. Nobody reads it because I don't want them to.
It's so weird. Because when people, even with this podcast, because the podcast is one of the first things in a long time that I've been a part of that I've openly shared with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Nancy was there. I took a lot of our friends and I treated them to dinner, and it wasn't like a big thing. I didn't want to make a big thing of it other than just to say thank you for all the support you've shown. Like right now, I know one of our friends is listening. I've seen actually a couple of our friends post in the chat, and I tell them thank you for supporting us, and they say of course, of course we're going to support you, and that of course is not a given.
No, it's really not.
That of course is not a given, and so when people do that, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you, because that is you spending your precious time on something that I'm doing for no other reason than to support me, and that is huge. That is not something you can expect of your friends, and I don't think it's something you should expect of your friends. It's just one of those, when people
you don't get all involved in their day job.
Exactly.
Right.
And
I do. Sometimes, unfortunately.
Wade's just really needy.
I guess I am.
I will say that John Reed is a special brand of human cyborg thing, in that he shows up here every week because this is what I'm doing, and he knows all my writer friends, and he gets along with everyone, and he asks me, like, I tell him all the jobs that I get, like on whatever I'm working on, and he's like, so did you do that? Why didn't you do it? Well, now you have to stay up later and do it. Well, here, have a piece of pizza. I'm going to bed. Do your thing. So it's nice to be supported. But he doesn't have to like read everything I write. I don't have to be validated by him. It's nice to be supported in that way.
It is, and it's just I've completely changed my tune over the last few years where I don't expect any support, and so when it happens, all the better. I genuinely don't expect any, and I don't think that you should. And if you are expecting it, then I think that you're setting yourself up for to be bumped, as the commenter said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like how Dennis also said, like, they're your loved ones, they're not your tribe. I think that is an important distinction between those two.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't have to be both.
Right.
And if you're a listener right now, a tribe would just be your reader base, right? You're the people that do support you because they're interested in what you're doing. Not because they're interested in you as a person because they love you as a person, but they're interested in the actual content that you're producing.
Correct. And as for real friends, who has those? Because I don't.
Time for them.
Not gonna lie, these are my friends right here. You're looking at them.
Right, like if you know any of these people and suddenly you see them far less, you are the thing that has been cut to make more writing time. Just FYI.
Yes.
Ouch.
Good point. Good point. Xavier, did you have any questions?
No, I don't think so. I think the one thing that I really identified with is when you were talking, Matt, about not overcomplicating things, and even though sometimes in my writing I'm not going to be purposely, or at least mentally trying to overcomplicate things. Like was said earlier, shoehorning in extra bits of information and any kind of, I came up with a little spark of an idea there that would work great, but otherwise wasn't thought of ahead of time, and it may work within the context of the story, but if you are only supposed to be doing a 2,000 word short story and it suddenly is 5 and you're only halfway finished, that's not a great way to be building a business.
It's not a bad way if the story calls for it and you're passionate about it and it all makes sense. But all I mean, and this is a comment more directed at people who are really at the very beginning and they're trying to figure out how to carve their way, right? I don't trust anybody to be able to write something until they've actually written something, because it is hard. There's a lot of little challenges you face. And that's why it's to those people that I say, look, this is going to be hard enough as it is. Don't get in your own way and overcomplicate it. Really simple. And then when you get to that, when you finish that one, and that's the other thing, is people think like, oh, I got this really good idea, and I want to make sure that I can write it, and I want to make sure that I'm good enough to write it. It's going to be amazing. Here's the hard truth. As you become a better writer, you get better ideas, right? That cool thing that you think is really so cool right now, you're going to have a better idea. You haven't had it yet. You will have it in the future, right? So don't hold off. Like, don't hold back. Just write what you want to write. Keep it simple. Keep moving forward, and you'll be able to naturally advance that, make things more complicated, make things longer. You'll be able to do that on your own. Don't try and do everything at first, at the beginning. Just try and get it done. Get the story told as simply as possible. Get the book out there, and then move on to the next one and make that one a little bit better, and then make the next one a little bit better, and make the next one a little bit better. Next thing you know, you are a very good writer, and you don't have to worry about overcomplicating things, because you're going to be able to say, look, I don't need that, or I do need that, and then whatever. You're going to be able to make that call on your own. You'll never get there if you don't complete things in the first place.
That's fair.
Yeah. And as John Reed said, deep thoughts from Matt Morris. I think he said Matt Handy.
And I think Robert Chaz shoots it that anytime that Matt goes deep, that we have to take a drink. So, thumbs up.
That's the new drinking game.
I'm passionate about life. I'm passionate about everything. And if I say I'm passionate, if you listen to the Author Strong podcast, I probably
God.
we're episode 30 is going to come out tomorrow, provided that I.
Yeah, maybe you should slow your roll on that glass of wine. So you can upload the thing. Like
Episode
Not
30.
gonna get up before like 3 p.m. tomorrow.
Episode 30 is going live tomorrow, and you might be hard pressed to find an episode where I don't say that I'm passionate about something. So, such is life.
Such as it is.
Such as it is.
Okay. All right. Well, we're up on the hour. Unless has anybody got any pressing things they want to add in? We get perfect timing too, Matt. The bottle of wine is.
Oh, he's got more.
yeah.
Here's another bottle of wine.
That one is he's Sharpied After Party on it.
Here's another bottle of wine.
It's a bottle of whiskey.
This is my brother Daryl. It's my other brother Daryl.
It's one of those things where, like, I'm doing a couple live shows. I wanted to make sure that I'm plenty lubricated. More fun.
Matt, more fun, Matt. So.
Fun.
All right. So as we've said lots of times tonight, but I warned we're going to pimp it out. That you can catch Matt and Nancy on the Author Strong podcast. It's authorstrong.com, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Authorstrong.com. It's the Author Strong podcast. You can go search it on. You can go to the website and you'll find it there. There's links that we haven't put up links for iTunes, actually, like a direct link to iTunes from the website. Which
you haven't. You should do that. Put that on the list. You're right. I saw that today. There was no link there. So,
but you can do it on the website directly. If you go into iTunes, you can search for Author Strong Podcast. It's there. Again, we launched on May 1st. Right now it's May 28th. We've got episode 30 going live tomorrow. It's a daily show. Ton of content. We target 30-minute episodes.
And they run over a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
I know because I'm doing my walking and jogging, and it's like, okay, I got longer time to go here, so.
Get me going, and I just start talking, and then we got guests, and they start talking, and we don't like to we could edit them down, but that doesn't feel right. So we get talking about something interesting, and I feel like we should just keep talking.
Yes.
I agree.
And, for better or worse. But yeah, so going off. We've got 29 episodes live right now. We've got a lot more coming up. We've got some really, really interesting content coming up. We have a literary agent that might be joining us. We've got a couple, best-selling authors that will be joining us, and we're going to be talking about getting into like the nitty-gritty of like how do you get started, where do you go from there, and etc.
Awesome.
So check it out. Yeah.
Yes, and after you check that out and download that to your iPhone or whatever it is device, go give us a rating, review on iTunes, please.
Wait, a five-star. Let's be real specific. Go give SBRT a five-star rating. Leave them a review. Tell Wade what he's doing right. Tell Wade what he's show. Tell Wade what you'd like to see so that he can give it to you. Right, Wade?
There you go. All right. Perfect. So we'll catch us next week. We're going to talk a little bit about character-driven versus plot-driven novels. Our guest lineup isn't quite all solidified yet, so I won't say that yet because I'll probably put my foot in my mouth. But
no, you say it's a surprise.
It's a surprise. Yeah. There you go. It's a surprise.
I like what Paul F. Tompkins does. What he's just like, and that's the end of the show. And next week we're going to interview another person.
Person. There you go. All right. So thanks for everybody in the live comments, watching everything. We do appreciate our listeners and our viewers. And I guess we'll after party it up. So yeah, look for that too. Anything else, Clan?
No.
Yeah. Xavier, real quick, timeout. Sorry, I've been talking to Nancy about this incessantly. Xavier, your typical sign out. Don't say it right now. Your typical sign out. I need you to do it as Sean Connery. Go for it.
Well, the problem with there's no S's in there, so it's not going to sound good.
Just add some S's. It doesn't matter.
Well, it's plural. There's an S on the end.
It's been a lovely evening, Internet. But good night.